When multiplying fractions, the only thing you really need to know are your multiplication facts, and those come in handy because you want to cancel, and then you want to multiply straight across. So I'm going to zoom in on my red example. If you have a multiplication table, that works really well also. Some of you might use those. When I look at a fraction like 6/9 times 10/12, I'm going to look for two things. I'm going to look to see, is there anything in the first fraction, in the second fraction, or anything on the diagonal that I'm able to cancel out, which means are any of them common factors? And if I'm throwing some math language at you, here's what I mean by that. I observe the 6 and the 9, they both have a 3 in common. So if you imagine we divide them both by 3, you're going to hear me say this in just a moment. 6 divided by 3 becomes a 2, and 9 divided by 3 becomes a 3. And now I have a smaller fraction. I can also continue to work with numbers that have already been simplified, like the 2 and the 12, for example. I'm allowed to do this on the diagonal. 2 divided by 2 becomes 1. 12 divided by 2 becomes 6. And I can keep going. I have a 6 and a 10. I'm looking at this number and this number. 6 divided by, what do they have in common? They have a 2 in common. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now, there's a lot going on here, but when you're all done doing all the canceling you can, the problem's essentially over. Now you just multiply straight across. The remaining 1 times the remaining 5 on top becomes 1 times 5 is 5. And on the bottom, the remaining 3 and the remaining 3 become 9, and you are done. You don't have to do anything else. Here's 3 more just like it. In 2 of them, it's just whole numbers. So the first one, 6 times 10/13, you can make this 6 into a 6/1, and all you really do is look for anything that's in common, nothing there, 10/13 or 10/1. Now you could argue that 1 goes into 10 10 times, but that doesn't really help you. So there's nothing happening here, so you just multiply straight across. 6 times 10 is 60, 1 times 13 is 13, and most teachers are going to be okay with that. If you need a mixed number, well then turn it into a mixed number. All right, with remainders and so on. Let's look at the one below it. This one's the one I love in class. When this comes up, I always want everyone just to do this. 6 becomes 6/1, and I'm going to immediately look at this. Look, a 6 on the top, a 6 on the bottom. This is beautiful. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. This problem practically finishes itself. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. Nobody's going to leave it 5/1. You're going to leave it like a pro, and you're going to answer it as 5. And then finally, here's one more fractional problem if you want to see one more example. In this problem, I'm going to look for things I can cancel. I see a 3 and a 9 catches my eye. Sometimes it's whatever catches your eye first. 3 divided by 3, 9 divided by 3 is 3. I'm going to go back to the 4 and the 10. They both have a 2 in common, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And that's it. So 2 times 1 becomes 2, and 3 times 5 becomes 15. And you're done. That is all it takes to multiply fractions.